Hey, listeners, are you ready to unlock your potential and build generational wealth? Join us at the Health and Wealth Expo Live Summit on October 24th at the National Harbor in Maryland. It's your chance to learn from top experts and take control of your future. Visit healthandwealthsummit2024.com to register today. So, as a mom and a CRNA and an entrepreneur with multiple platforms, how do you manage to juggle everything? Like, what advice would you give to nurses who are feeling overwhelmed by the demands of their career and their personal lives, but also interested in pursuing entrepreneur ventures like you have?
So that was really hard in the beginning, and a couple reasons why. One, when you're used to working, I'm not really a 9 to 5, but you know what I mean. You're used to going into work and going home. The big difference that I saw in the beginning when I had a really hard time adjusting to this was when you're an entrepreneur, you're on 24/7. You don't get that flip off. It's like your brain's always working on what's next. And you do juggle, you wear a lot of hats. But that being said, nurses always wear a lot of hats. And so we are so good at multitasking, at being creative, at problem solving. We are actually very good entrepreneurs.
Welcome to Nurses with Voices. I'm Dr. Lindra, your host and fellow nurse who's traded in burnout for breakthroughs. I'm here to show you how to transform your nursing career into one filled with purpose, reduced stress, and incredible opportunities. Whether you're looking to start your own business, build generational wealth, or simply find a healthier role in nursing, this podcast is for you. Join me to explore practical strategies to overcome burnout, combat bias, and chart new paths in nursing. It's time to reclaim your voice and reimagine your future in healthcare. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Nurses with Voices. Today we have an inspiring guest who wears many hats. She's a CRNA, a mom of five, and a serial entrepreneur who is deeply passionate about mentoring nurses. With 15 years of nursing experience, including 10 as a CRNA, Jenny Fennell has built an incredible mentorship program through CRNA School Prep Academy. She's impacted over 6,000 ICU nurses, and she's now leading TeachRN.com, a movement designed to revolutionize the nursing profession by connecting nurses with mentors for career advancement. If you've ever wondered how to balance it all, motherhood, a demanding career, and entrepreneurship, this episode is definitely for you. So please welcome Jenny Fennell. Jenny, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I want to start by asking you about the burnout factor. With such a demanding career as a CRNA, the responsibilities of being a mom of five, I imagine burnout is something that you've encountered. Did your own experience, I should say, with burnout play a role in your decision to create CRNA School Academy? And TeachRN.com. And I guess it's kind of a two-part question. And how have these platforms helped nurses navigate burnout and career satisfaction?
I love that question. And yes, that's an experience I've had actually multiple times in my life, as I think most can relate to that. It's interesting though, because the burnout I've experienced have occurred in different ways. The first one being actually while I was an ICU nurse. That is the first time I think I truly experienced what I would call burnout. And it was almost like an out of body experience. I think most people probably are aware that you kind of just feel very emotionally disconnected with yourself. And that's a very scary place to be. And I knew CRNA was the career path I really wanted. So I knew ICU was a necessary evil to get to that end goal. And I'm so glad I stuck it out because I love being a CRNA. The second time I experienced burnout, I was actually in CRNA school and again felt that very emotional disconnect. And this time, it wasn't from the emotional baggage or depression that I experienced from the first burnout. This time, it was physical and mental overwhelm, immense amount of pressure, just a lot of pressure, I guess, to perform and to do well. That was the second time. And the third time, well, I should say there's actually been four. The third time is when I actually started mentoring nurses. And I didn't intend to start a business. I actually just got on social media for the first time since grad school back in 2019 and called myself Jenny CRNA. And I started getting people DMing me, reaching out. So I was like, here's my cell phone. I'm happy to help. And before I knew it, within like 6 months, I had over a community on Facebook, over 6,000 nurses. I was very overwhelmed. I had a lot of people asking for my time. And I'm definitely one of those people who I didn't know how to say no. Like I've had to learn that. That's a boundary that I've had to learn how to set, which is part of addressing burnout. But that being said, I finally came to the conclusion that I started kind of feeling icky about what I was doing, in the sense that I kind of started feeling resentment. And I knew that that first sign of resentment towards the people I was trying to help, the nurses, I was like, whoa, Jenny, like, this is not okay. I was a working mom of 2 at the time, working 40 hours a week as a CRNA and spending 20 hours a week for free mentoring. And I just finally decided, you know what, if I want to keep doing this, then I have to figure out how to monetize my time so I can spend less time in the OR and more time mentoring. And that's what I did. And I created CSBA. And so now we've mentored over 6,000 nurses. I still work clinically as a CRNA, maybe 1 or 2 days a month, and which gives me my fill of anesthesia. And then I get to mentor nurses. And the fourth time was when I became a mom of 5. I obviously, as becoming a mother was an adventure in itself, but the last 2 children we had are identical twins who were high risk twins, something called mono twins, where they have 1 placenta, 1 amniotic sac. And so that was very high risk. I was hospitalized for 6 weeks, spent 50 days in the NICU, and I was still running the businesses and had 3 other children at home. And so that was the 4th time. And I think by the time I got to the 4th experience of burnout, it was interesting, because every time I think I handle it a little bit better. And I think the biggest thing is just addressing your own stress and addressing how you can cope. And that sometimes means getting therapy. That sometimes means getting external help or taking medications and being okay with that. The big key to burnout is vocalizing it and sharing it with someone that you trust and that can be there for you, to not hold it all in, to not internalize it and make you feel like you're not enough, you're not good enough, that you can't do this. No, we are human, you guys. We do break. And you have to recognize that.
I love everything that you said. So recently, I created a guide about to help nurses beat burnout. And you've touched on at least 3 of the topics that I talk about in the guide. And one being one of the top priorities for me is that saying no. Setting those boundaries are so important as a part of that self-reflection, and just building that, again, that boundary around yourself for peace of mind is, I don't think people realize how huge that is. And as nurses, we're givers, right? Like, we're constantly giving, and we're so used to giving. And you started your program just wanting to help people, because that's what we do. We want to help. And you were able to find an entire business through it. I think that's amazing. And starting TeachRN.com is no small feat, especially you're already leading CRNA School Prep Academy. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced while building the platform, and how do you see it transforming the nursing profession in the years to come?
Yeah, I love that question. I guess I want to start by addressing, going back to kind of what we were just speaking about, boundaries. And one thing that has helped me so much, because I'm someone who wants to say yes, is this was told to me by, and I was seeking out therapy at the time when I was trying to address this initial burnout, is that every time you say yes to something, you are equally saying no to something else. So when I reframe, when I feel bad or guilty, I say, what am I saying no to? And oftentimes we end up saying no to when you say yes is usually yourself, right? So I just wanted to reframe that too. And I think that's wonderful that is a bullet point, because that is 100% something that I think everyone should address. But TeachRN actually was born from my experience mentoring nurses pursuing CRNA. And I kept seeing a recurring theme, which is that they wanted one-on-one connection with another nurse. They wanted someone to review their resume or their essay for a personal statement, or for consulting or guidance. They wanted those touch points, and they needed more time and more help. And I remember feeling overwhelmed. So like, I'm one person, I can't do it all. And, we were trying to kind of make it work. I started hiring successful students of the academy to be contractors to do the work. And it got to be not something that was scalable, meaning we had wait lists weeks long that we
Right.
couldn't accommodate everybody who needed a mock interview, for example. And I
Mhm.
finally and it was really was kind of becoming what I would call a bottleneck in the business, where I'm like, this is just not working. And yet, if you review the testimonials students leave, often one of the most common things they shout out is whoever did their mock interview, or who did their resume or essay edit, or who gave them that one-on-one attention. They wanted more of this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't just stop doing. I have to find a way. I have to find a way to make this more scalable at a bigger impact. And so at the time I was part of a coaching business, and mentorship is really investing in self-development. And as far as difficulty starting a business, I have leaned in heavily into business coaching, therapy. I invest in myself to grow and to learn. And I think that's key with starting any business, with doing really anything that you don't know how to do. You have to start with, what are the basics? What is the foundation? And how can I challenge my knowledge base? But I was part of a business coaching program, and I had heard of teachers pay teachers. And I was like, well, that's a
Mhm.
very interesting concept. Like, nurses should pay nurses. Nurses should invest in other nurses. And so and originally when we launched, we were nurses teach nurses. And it was a mouthful, and nobody could remember it. I'm like, okay, Jenny, not another acronym business. Let's settle this down and just call it TeachRN. So that's kind of how it formed. And now it's a marketplace that can scale. And I know for a fact we haven't quite gotten there yet, but we are really robust in the anesthesia space. But I just have a feeling that this is going to be so meaningful amongst nurses of all different specialties, because in nursing school you don't get to see everything. You get to see the tip of the iceberg, and there's over 100 nursing specialties. So
Mhm.
how can you possibly know what you want to do forever once you're done with nursing school? You have no idea. But would you ever take that chance on yourself to learn about legal nursing, or informatics, or flight nursing, or being an entrepreneur as a nurse, if you don't have a guide or a resource to lean on? So my hope is that TeachRN can fill that void and help nurses find fulfillment, help them find something that lights them up and that they're excited about being a nurse about. That's the goal.
Absolutely. And you pretty much just answered my next question, because I wanted to really talk about your, mentorship and career advancement, because it's everything that you said is so important and is so crucial for nurses to really start thinking outside of the traditional setting. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, we need our bedside nurses. However, but there's so many opportunities for nurses that you can, like you said, you can be a flight nurse, you can be a nurse entrepreneur, but we really have to get out of the break room. Someone said that to me recently that was on the show. It's like nurses really need to get out of the break room and start getting in different environments so that they can be inspired and so that they can know that there's other avenues out there and there's mentorship that can help them do that. They have to be willing to invest in themselves to do it. And sometimes it can be, yes, it can be costly. However,
Mhm.
that mindset of we come and we swipe in, we do our job and we leave. What better way to have an impact is to really do something that's going to help other people? How about think about what we can do with a community? You're helping a community with your programs and with your mentorship. And mentorship is so key in that career advancement and development. And I think I mentioned this to you, earlier. CRNA was my dream job. That was my dream job. And one of the things that deterred me, and you please tell me if this is something that you teach in your mentorship. One of the things was at the time when I had applied or was trying to apply, there were so many rules and regulations with, becoming a CRNA. What are some of the things that your program does to help prepare nurses for those programs? So, and I'll give you an example. For me, there were requirements that you couldn't work, for one, and being a single parent, I could not work. I was a caregiver to generations. So I have my mother who lives with me. So what about people like me in communities like mine where they don't have that option, that they can't work? And that's like a huge, deterrent. That was a huge deterrent. That was one of the biggest deterrents for me in not pursuing my CRNA.
Yeah, 100%. So, oh my gosh, I could go on all day about this topic, because obviously that's what my first passion is to just break this down. And when I started mentoring nurses pursuing anesthesia, obviously I had my own experience, right? But what I realized really quickly was, oh my gosh, Jenny, there's so much more to know. And this is a puzzle. This is a very complicated puzzle that's different for everybody, because everybody comes at this journey in a different way. Like you said, you were a single parent, you were a caregiver, you couldn't financially fathom not working. Or other people, maybe it's they're overcoming a low GPA, or there's other barriers. And so I like challenge. I don't know if you've noticed, but I really enjoy a GPA challenge. Like that's like really lights me up. I'm like, oh, this is hard. Let's do this, even if it means like I'm probably gonna stink at it for a while. But that being said, I just dove in deep and started talking to faculty, started talking to CRNAs, SRNAs. What are you doing? What's working? One of the things we started doing really early on is I brought in a financial advisor who specializes in working with SRNAs who are currently in school. And so she does quarterly webinars for free for our community. And she helps students who are single parents who are trying to navigate, how am I supposed to support myself and my family? How am I going to get not enough for loans and to live on? And what if emergency happens? So we do work financially with students in that way to help them to understand how other students have done it and how they've been successful in that. Also, TeachRN happens to be a really great way to work intermittently whenever you want and earn a really great side income. So a lot of our students who have used TeachRN to receive mock interviews go on to become mentors, and they use it to make income in school. It's not a full-time job, but it's enough to maybe pay your gas or your groceries. And some people are making quite a decent living, or extra, what do you call it, side gig, doing TeachRN and providing a really great community service. So there are ways. I have one student who actually managed to be, he was, shoot, I'm going to blank on the name, but he was one of those critical access nurses, or the like code team, the nurses who would come just for codes, and he
Right.
worked night shift. And so he often would sleep most of the time. And so you couldn't work the night before clinical, but he managed to work on the weekends and when he could, all through school. And so there are programs who do respect that, who just say,
Mhm.
well, if you got to keep your grades a certain level, and if you slip, then you're out, and you can work if you can maintain your grades. And so that is always, so some schools are supportive like that. However, obviously a big caveat is you have to maintain your grades. And so yeah, that's what kind of fascinated me with helping, because I wanted to help people like you be successful. That's really what you wanted. And a
Right.
lot of our students have been able to find and navigate around some of those challenges.
So, as a mom and a CRNA and an entrepreneur with multiple platforms, how do you manage to juggle everything? Like, what advice would you give to nurses who are feeling overwhelmed by the demands of their career and their personal lives, but also interested in pursuing entrepreneur ventures like you have?
Yeah. So that was really hard in the beginning, and a couple reasons why. One, when you're used to working, I'm not really a 9 to 5, but you know what I mean. You're used to going into work and going home. The big difference that I saw in the beginning, when I had a really hard time adjusting to this, was when you're an entrepreneur, you're on 24/7. You don't get that flip off. It's like your brain's always working on what's next, what's next. And you do juggle, you wear a lot of hats. But that being said, nurses always wear a lot of hats. And so we are so good at multitasking, at being creative, at problem solving. We are actually very good entrepreneurs. So let me start with that. And secondly, the most important thing that I did, that was not easy, but it got me to where I am today, is I scaled a team. And team. You work with a team in the hospital. Why would you want to go in business alone? You need a team, even if it's just an administrative assistant, online business
Mhm.
manager, breath of fresh air. Let people help you, get help, ask for feedback. I actually tell my team, I'm like, tell me no. Because if you don't, I'll run you into the ground. I'll run myself into the ground. So argue with me. I want a rebuttal. I want juicy thoughts of like, no, Jenny, I don't like that idea. Let's try this. And because that is what I want, that back and forth communication. That's what we do in the clinical
Right.
setting. We don't always agree, but that's usually when you find solutions that are kind of unique and different.
Mhm.
So that's my biggest piece of advice, is don't try to do it alone. You really can't if you do it if you scale it in a way that's meaningful.
Right, right. And you know what? And you're so right, because that's exactly how we are as nurses. We feel like we can do everything. And I think that is a huge takeaway about having a team, because having a team is what allowed me to scale my business and so many other businesses alike. A lot of colleagues that I know is from having a team. When you're trying to go through this alone, when you're trying to, go to YouTube University for everything and Google, it is not going to work. And I'm just here, I'm here to tell you, but we are. And I think we're natural at being entrepreneurs. We're natural entrepreneurs. And it's because we're so used to problem solving. We really, really are. Just think about, when I can think about the night shifts where we had to be engineering, we had to be dietary, right? We were the charge nurse, we were the nurse manager, we were it. Right? Like we were it. And we were housekeeping. You get so used to doing everything, and we don't realize, like, hold on. I don't have to. I really don't have to. And something I want to go back to with TeachRN. And I should have asked you this, because I want to be able to help people understand the impact that you're having, and how you really, really, you definitely mentioned how you have other people coming in and they're working as, mentors, and they're making enough money to pay gas and things like that. But what exactly is the program? So how does the program run? Like, what should I expect if I was to log on to TeachRN? What should I expect from the program?
Yeah, that's a great question. So TeachRN, trying to think of in terms, it's a marketplace. So if you're familiar with like Etsy, most people know Etsy. People sign up to be sellers, and then people come and they find what they want and they buy from those sellers. It's similar in the sense that nurses can sign up to be mentors, and they can sell services. That could be coaching, that could be tutoring, that could be mock interviews, resume edits, etc., digital downloads, courses, education. I mean, you name it. We even have med tech companies seeking out consultations from nurses with specific backgrounds, because they need that kind of feedback directly from nurses. So there's a lot of potential to be a mentor in different ways on TeachRN. And as a customer, as a nurse seeking guidance, seeking support, it could be emotional support. We have nurses. I mean, I'm always blown away. And that's actually what I love about this so much, is I'm just so blown away by our community. There's so much positivity, so many wonderful, insightful, experienced nurses who have so much talent and skills, and not just the
Mhm.
traditional nursing way. Maybe they're really into holistic healing, and they can really help holistically heal you. Like I spoke to, getting therapy to work on yourself, focus on growth mindset. Maybe you find a nurse who's really into growth mindset, who's helped her patients overcome depression, and now she uses that skill set to share with other nurses the same skill. So there's so much that you can seek, but traditional things like tutoring, coaching, I even think for like nursing students to explore career paths. Well, what is it like being a mental health NP? What is it like being a CRNA? Do I really want to be a CRNA? What's the worst day? What's the
Right.
best day? How much, and like you said, navigating some of the complexities of becoming a CRNA. Is that even doable for my lifestyle and what I want for myself? This could just lead to less burnout, because what I see nurses do a lot is they pick up career path, right? They think that's what they want to do. They go
Mhm.
for it. They spend time, money, and energy doing it, only to be like, oh, this is not really what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Now I have to go back to the drawing board again. Now I'm depressed. Now I'm anxious. Now I'm just going to take this job. And that's just unfortunate. And so
Yeah.
starting early on to explore all the possibilities and talk to a mentor. So yeah, nurses can go to the site. You can search by specialty. You can search by service. We're still growing. We're looking for mentors. So I would love anyone interested in mentoring. We want it all nurses of all kinds, all different skill sets, because again, you have something to offer. Um,
Right.
so yeah, so that's kind of the gist of it. It's a marketplace. You do pay. It's paid mentorship, but there's a realm or a range of prices. Some nurses, they're not doing this. Some of them are not doing it to make money. They're maybe only charging $5. I'm not joking, like $5. But
Wow.
and I've
Wow.
even had some people even like refund after they get the service. Like, I don't really want to charge you, but the majority of people do it because they know they're giving you their time, and they could either
Right.
spend their time mentoring you or working at the hospital. So they typically charge, what they would probably get at the hospital per hour. And
Right.
so you'll see like a CRNA, a typical CRNA makes on average 150 an hour. So that might be what you pay for a CRNA's time. If you pay for a nurse one-on-one coaching, if she's typically making 35, $40 an hour at the hospital, it's probably what they're going to charge. So again, that's kind of like the realm of what you'll see on there.
Gotcha. I love it. It's kind of like a Fiverr for nurses.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say that, but I'm like, how do people know what Fiverr is? I didn't know what Fiverr was until I got into the business space.
I know. It's so funny. All right. Well, tell me, how can people find you?
Yes, I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. You can just search Jenny Fennell, or I'm at TeachRN. You can also head over to CRNA School Prep Academy or TeachRN.com to learn more about those different avenues. But yeah, I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place that I tend to enjoy connecting with people.
All right, great. Anything upcoming that you want to share?
Well, I mean, if anyone out there, I love talking to colleges of nursing, different nursing student bodies. I'm passionate about mental wellness. I often give interview tips, resume tips, stress management tips. But I'm really open to talking about anything that you feel like your nursing student body would value. Because again, I'm here to give back. So anyone out there who knows of opportunities like that, feel free to send those my way.
Great, great. Well, there you have it, everyone. I hope you enjoy Jenny as much as I have. Make sure you reach out to her and connect with her on LinkedIn. Until next time, make sure that you stay educated, stay inspired, and stay empowered.
Thank you, Dr. Lendra. Appreciate it.